It's a great pleasure for me to attend today's conference. My topic today is also related to the new generation application architecture. So today, together with Alibaba, we will talk about the ecosystem of the container technology. We are also very glad that at the very starting phase of the ecosystem, we can participate in the construction of the whole ecosystem. My presentation will also reflect these three themes as shown on the slide: the ecosystem mutual complement and the in-depth integration, as well as the transformation driven. Now actually we are changing the IT world. Now we are experiencing the transition period from the old world to the new world in terms of the IT industry. And also we have the same dream for the IT new world. We have prospects of this new world. See, today through the Ali Computing Conference, we can see a profile or a vague profile of this new world after the transformation. So my presentation also will start from the IT world. I believe many of you are very interested in the container technology. So let's look at the role of the container technology in the new IT world. Why the container technology is so popular in today's world. The container technology actually is just come out of nowhere, but now it has become the buzzword in the IT world. This is a picture from Gartner. It's called the new reality of the IT. And we can see a multi-layers architecture, and for each layer it has different components comparing with the traditional IT architecture. So in the new IT reality, we have a new platform model, and for the blue part we call the new IP, a new application interface, and then we have a passive digitalization. The logic behind it is very simple. Now we are transforming from informatization to the IoT. So in the future, the digital world is more like a passive digitalization world. So in the future, the sensors and IoT has entered into our lives. Each of us is doing something that has been digitalized, and also this is an inevitable trend. So each sensor in the future will be an application.
So the idea of application change again from desktop to the mobile and to future generation. So previously we thought the IT platform is like server, OS, application, middleware. But now if application change their model, then the entire architecture would change. Gartner said that one is IoT architecture and platform, mesh app and service architecture, advanced system architecture, and adaptive security architecture. And applications we do, whether visible and invisibles, is like plugs on these digital platforms. So this is what we see at this moment, and we should be very lucky to be able to live in such an era at a time when IT technology has leaped forward, starting from disruption. So today we are now in an important time, and for many professionals it could also be painful, because you have to abandon what you thought you knew and really embrace a lot of new know-how and technologies. But this is the trend of the new IT. So in the new IT reality, it listed the trend. Now we talk so much about big data, about cloud, and now why the world pays so much attention to container? Because we have already run into such issues. New generation of applications are coming, are swarming in. These are not just mobile apps application, but we've also seen these existing innovation. But when we say the applications experience a very complicated and painful process to be deployed on this platform. And this is really the transition period. When application is like a plug and plug in a socket, it should be very easy and flexible and elastic. Maybe in the future, container technology is not known anymore as container technology, but it's still a kind of a transitional period. Of course, I will also talk about that container is not the answer to all the questions. There's still a lot of technical issues, such as heterogeneous containers, etc. And also because of the our architecture's issue, we using automation and even AI to drive ops and maintenance decision making, and they all belong to the idea of plugging the plug on the socket. So this is my understanding of container. Not really at the technical level, but at the level of scientific development. And when I say that container cannot be the question to all the cannot be the answer to all the questions, because the fundamental question that IT to solve is not different. Maybe previously IT is developed to solve the communication issues. We digitalized and go into an age of electronics, and the era of IT gave birth to many great companies in Nasdaq, in NY stock exchange, and in China, a lot of companies, and also silicon companies that started from garage, and these companies are labeled as company that is going to be eliminated, or what we say is DIOE. So why? It's not because of political reasons. There are so many factors. The entire industry is changing. This is also a global wave. There's a group of people that believe that IT should not be the answer. That IT should not be the answer to question A. This should be the answer to question B. And such challenges are becoming more and more common, and the technical pathways that is utilized by these front runners naturally does not adopt IOE methods. So I don't know how to define. Maybe we call it cloud native or open architecture, but fundamentally they are answering the different questions. So for the entire architecture, it is not that complicated. The key is still application. For so many differences, it is really brought about by our different requirements for applications. If this is the application 1.0, then it's application OS server, and I think this is small-scale companies and enterprises are using now, because this is what I do for my first job after graduation. We also have this, call it 3-layer application structure, whether it is the CS or base structure. This is what we believe applications should look like. And so at the different layers, you have great server company, you have great OS company, you have great application company. But now we're in the age of cloud. From Amazon, from VMware to OpenStack. So what has changed? What have changed? This is also my last job. We can see we've changed the entire infrastructure or architecture by virtualization technologies. We make it easier to acquire computing resources. But when we look back, compared with the first chart, we see there's not much difference in application. Basically, there's no change to the application. So even we are in the age of cloud, we can see the unprecedented whole new IT state, but we have not changed the most important part of IT, which is application. Why? Because application doesn't sound important. This is reality. For traditional IT, business determines science and the technology progress. So application is not that important. You can use stupid ways to deploy, and no one will care about it. But there's still a group of people in the world who care about applications which are disruptors of the industry. So at the beginning, when people felt the application-based, application-centered architecture look like this, this is something that you learn. ISPaaS, and they look like this. So after the architecture become cloud, then we can use the platform to replace the traditional OS and the middleware. So I can become the prototype of cloud-native application. But one interesting about it is, who told you this structure? Who told you about PaaS as architecture? These concepts deeply rooted in your mind. Who told you? IOE told you that. Why? Because they feel it's very logical. Because people, when you grow, you just add layers on the building. You just build higher and higher buildings. So I don't want to speak too much about it. It's basically wrong. This is the largest fraud in the world. So the age we're in now, when we're looking from the perspective of application, we are now building a new IT. The big logic is simple, which is simplify everything. The IT itself is just too complicated, and the complications come with more complications. So these leaders of science and technologies bring companies that was small 10 years ago. They were small. If Google used IOE to build, they will not be able to survive. So when we look at these network-facing structures, they simplified everything. It's come back to the 3-layer structure, but it's not a point-to-point structure. It's hyper-integration architecture. But this hyper-integration was not that difficult to understand. It's just like x86 standard server concept. I think in U.S. largest x86 assembly is not Dell, it's Foxconn, because their largest production is right across Google's HQ. So what they do is they produce the server and they ship them across the street for Google to use. So this is the landscape for container technology to grow. We need something we need something to really pack all these applications in different fields and make it easier to an architecture that is prone to horizontal scaling. So this is the basics of container. So basically, container is the next generation of OS with quotation marks. It's not a Linux, it's not a Windows, it's a call and orchestration system at the resource level. So by calling and orchestration of the resources, it works as a tool and without occupying too much resources. And so we call it the trial of cloud computing with container packaging, microservice oriented, and dynamically management. So we, of course, the container can be Docker or run C. It could just be a packaging of operating environment, and then dynamically management. It is what we say the hyper integration. If let's say I have this world and this trial body world, and then you feel a lot of bumps have been removed from 6 dimensions. First, you will feel that your open model is easier. The DevOps, the development models become much easier. In the new world, the DevOps become very natural. And then we found that the architecture become easier. If I want to write a distributed system, I don't necessarily to require a distributed system expert. The third is a lot of application architecture looks great on the paper, and they can be embodied in operation. So it's no longer just the 2-dimensional, but the 3-dimensional. So the Microsofts can be solved, and all of these Microsoft services are sealed in containers. Now, if you look at the containers, you can have the design specs. And these specs, the microservice specs and the container specs are connected. And then it provides you with a new world. Then you don't need the server. You only need the application. You only see the applications on the server. So it becomes a serverless idea. Also, SDS, in the old data center, everyone is API calling. You don't have to consider about like memory or storage or etc. So for you, the SDS will give you the new storage platform. So from this different data center and IT structure, we can see a very dynamic architecture. It can recycle the entire, it can recycle the process. So here's the magic word, iteration. So why we say DaoCloud? Some say it is a distributed autonomous system. And since we're now in China, we felt that DaoCloud also want to represent the new IT's DAO, new IT's idea. I think that Daoism really corresponds to that. That one comes from the Dao, and the two comes one.
With the platform, and then we can have application and the data. So 1 becomes 2, and then 2 becomes 3. The 3 should be the user ecosystem, and this will generate the commercial value. And then the 3 things will generate everything. So this is the commercial logic of the DaoCloud. So today we're talking about the first step, the platform. In the whole IT industry, it has generated some disrupted concepts. And these things might not be important in the past IT reality, but in the new IT reality, these things are very important. For example, the microservice architecture and data-driven operation, standardized delivery model, and so on. So from this slide, we can see the infrastructure architecture becomes simpler. And also we can see that the whole architecture become more simpler. And in the middle part, it's called cloud operation system. This is the core part. And it has more than the containers. It's like the starting point of the new IT reality. So we need companies like Alibaba and the DaoCloud and a lot of other companies to provide more capacities. So this has constructed the enterprise data operating system. And then one step up, we can see different application platform. We call it plug. So today I'm here and together with Alibaba to conduct the collaboration in the container technology. And I believe that Alibaba and also our companies are the pillar force in the development of the container technology, and our collaboration is not only because of the container technology, but more because of the new IT reality. And also Alibaba said they have already enjoyed the bonus of the new IT reality. We want to transfer it to the whole world. So this is also what we think. And in some scenario, we also have made some breakthrough. For example, in the vehicle industry, today we have seen the whole vehicle or automobile industry, they are connected to the internet. And also we have seen that they are not learning like what other vehicle companies are doing, like Volvo or GE. They are learning from Google and Tesla, because the automobile manufacturing industry may be eventually become automobile service companies. And also they're constructing their own Internet of Vehicles platform. And also in financial industry, they have a large proportion of IT investment. In this scenario, we have adopted a container technology, also make use of the technological accumulation of the Alibaba. These collaborations are just at the very starting point. So in the future, I believe we will see more and more similar collaboration in other industries. And this is my ending slide. This slide showed the technology ecosystem of container technology. We call it 3 rings. The first ring in the middle is about the container technologies, like the new IT engine. And horizontally is representing the agility of the IT system iteration from dev to ops. And vertically we have access from apps to infrastructure. And in the second ring, we see the IT platform. And for the third ring, the outer ring, is about the digital transformation. So in the outer ring, will require not only Alibaba but also the other companies that engaging in the digital transformation to transform. Thank you very much. And also, I'm very glad to have this opportunity to share with you about the container technology and the new IT world. Thank you very much.